Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Tax Move with Glen Birnbaum. So, Glenn, last week we talked a little bit about paying employees with some commodities that you produce. So this week we're going to talk about charitable donations. So let's talk about that a little bit and what are some tax advantages there.
Sure. So we wanted to talk first just about in 2018. They've changed the rules now, and so before. The question always was, am I going to be itemizing my deductions or am I just going to take the standard deduction? And basically what happened is they raised the standard deduction from about $12,000 up to $24,000. So a lot less people are going to be itemizing. About 30% of people itemized in the past, and they think maybe only 5-10% of people at the most will be itemizing in 2018. So a lot less people are going to be itemizing. So the question is, hey, what type of expenses deductions still count to itemize? So, and donations is one of them. But just as a reminder, medical expenses can count, although they've got to be pretty significant. They've got to be more than 7.5% of your income. Mortgage interest still counts. State and local income tax, Casey, that's a change as well, where state and local income tax, so property tax, income tax, and sales tax too, those are now capped at $10,000. Okay, so even though you may have more payments than that, you're capped at $10,000. So then the last one is donations. So it's very likely that clients will no longer have more than $24,000 of the total of all these deductions. Again, because it's mortgage interest. If we ignore medical, we're talking mortgage interest, state and local income tax, and donations. So given that, how do we try to take advantage of the situation? Because basically in most situations now, if you're not itemizing, it really does not pay to donate to a charity. You're not actually going to save any tax, right? Because I'm going to take that $24,000 deduction either way. So there's some concern that it's going to, people are going to cut back on donations. So what's the tax move this week? There's a couple of them. How do we maybe work through this? One, maybe a little simpler, is we'll just maybe bunch up our donations or double up our donations in 1 year, right? Then don't have any donations the next year to try, I'll try to get over that $24,000 hurdle, and then I won't make any donations the second year. So maybe I'll bunch up my donations. But the one we really want to talk about today is this qualified charitable distribution out of an IRA. And that one, Casey, is we're only talking about for people that are over age 70.5. So if you're over age 70.5 and you have money in a retirement account like an IRA, you have to start taking that money out. It's called a required minimum distribution. So you've got to take that money out gradually over your lifetime. And so obviously that creates taxable income, right? Because I'm pulling that money out. And so what you can do in the right set of circumstances is, instead of recognizing that income, I'll just directly donate my required minimum distribution to a charity. Okay? So, in effect, you're able to get the deduction for the donation by not having to pick up the income from my required minimum distribution. So, you end up getting the benefit of donating your required minimum distribution. Versus if I pulled out $5,000 from my retirement plan, I had to pay tax on that, and then I donated $5,000 to a church, but I didn't get a tax deduction, right? The end effect is I had to pay tax on $5,000 of income, right? Under that scenario. Under this QCD, it's called qualified charitable distribution. I, in effect, take that $5,000 and directly donate it to charity, and I don't have to recognize the $5,000 of taxable income. So I just saved tax on that by directly donating it.
Okay. All right. So the very first podcast that we did, however many weeks ago that was now, you'd mentioned something about charitable donations and commodities. And
Yep.
so let's say I'm a farmer and I've got, I want to donate 1,000 bushels of corn to my church as a donation to my church. How would that work in the scenario that you just laid out?
Yep. So it's kind of a similar tax move because in that one, and so again, the QCD, the IRA thing, that's only for people that are 70 and a half and are taking, carbon distribution. So, it's not everybody. The donating grain is kind of similar. That is a situation where, hey, I'm not going to be over that $24,000 hurdle. So if I sell that 1,000 bushels of grain, right, and I then donate the cash, I'm actually not going to get a tax deduction. So what you can do is just directly donate the grain to your church, and you don't have to report those grain sales as income. And so the nice thing is you don't have to pay self-employment tax on the income. In certain circumstances, depending on your state, you may not have to pay state income tax. And so it's a way to directly donate something, not have to report the income, don't have to report the deduction. Again, and that's only, it's more prevalent now. It's going to be a much bigger deal. So the charities are they're going to have to understand how to receive items like grain, because otherwise there's no incentive for me to donate cash if I'm not going to be over that $24,000. So, if you're a person that doesn't have a home mortgage, or, if you're older and right, you've paid it down pretty well, you don't have much mortgage interest, and you don't have a whole lot of state and local income tax, or it's going to be capped at $10,000, you're just not going to be getting the benefit of a cash donation to a charity. So a way to get the benefit is to donate grain directly to the charity.
Okay. So what you're saying is there's no taxable benefit, so I'll make sure I'm understanding this right, unless you're above the $24,000 mark.
Correct. So if you add up your mortgage interest and your state and local income tax and your donations, and that totals, let's say it totals $20,000, you're going to take $24,000 as your standard deduction, because that's a higher number. So in effect, you could have paid no donations whatsoever and be in the same exact situation. So unless you're over 24 grand, you're not getting any benefit from donating to a charity. And then, let's say you're at 25 grand, right, Casey? So, okay, I'm over 25 grand. I'm over 24,000, and I'll say I'm at 25,000. Well, really, you're only getting an extra $1,000 deduction, right? So you might have donated $10,000 to a charity, but you're actually only getting the extra benefit on $1,000. So the bottom line is, many times it's not really going to pay, from a tax perspective, solely to donate to a charity, unless you're way over that $24,000 threshold.
Okay.
So
unless you're willing to stroke a big check to a charity, what you're saying is, with $24,000 worth of standardized deductions anyway, we're kind of there.
Yeah, and so obviously people donate for other reasons, but if we're just talking taxes here. Strictly from a tax perspective, many times it's not going to pay to donate.
Right on.
One other thing I didn't mention, Casey, on that qualified charitable distribution, if you are still an active farmer and you have a SEP IRA, and we'll probably talk about this down the road about retirement plan options, but if I'm still contributing to my retirement plan, my SEP IRA, so I have to take money out of my SEP IRA because I'm over 7.5, but I'm putting new money into it because I'm still earning a living on the farm, you cannot do that QCD direct donation of your required minimum distribution. So if you're an active farmer over 7.5, you can't do that direct donation of your required minimum distribution. So
you can't. What you're saying is you can't offset. No, go ahead.
So there's always hurdles. So
right. So what you're saying is you can't. If I want to put in $10,000 into there and it's going to generate XYZ tax liability, I can't then donate that amount of money to offset that possible tax implication there.
Right. So it works out. I don't know if, on a required minimum distribution, this is rough, but it's pretty close. When you turn 7.5, again, you got to start pulling money out of your retirement plan, and that could include your SEP retirement plan that you're setting up. It's about a 3.5% rate. So if I got $100,000 in my SEP, I'd have to take about $3,500 out of it. Mm-hmm. And the IRS is just saying, hey, you deferred that income all these years, right? So eventually, once you get 7.5, you got to start pulling it out so the IRS gets some of their money. So it's just a way to gradually start eating into that money. So IRS is fine with that, but if you're still active and putting new money into the SEP, then you can't do that direct donation of that $3,500 in that case. So they really are waiting until you're no longer active farming before you can really do this kind of tax move with the donation.
Okay, so what's the best situation then? I'm a farmer or a rancher or whatever, and I'm at 70 and a half, and I'm going to retire, going to do everything off, and I'm going to go off and sell off everything I have, and I'm going to move to town, right?
Yep.
What do you do with that income? Can you put it into this IRA, this account, and does that count at that point since you're not farming?
Count, and we're definitely going to. I'm working on my, keeping a list of future topics, but that's going to be a topic. You can, with a SEP IRA, you can put up to 20% of your income into there. So it could be part of the solution, but you still get taxed on roughly 80%. So, but yeah, it is a real challenge when you're finally ready to turn it over and you've got all this grain and you got to sell it. You're going to have a lot of income, right, and no expenses. So we'll talk about that down the road. But a SEP IRA, there's even other types of retirement plans that you can shelter more money, but a SEP IRA is pretty common.
Gotcha.
But it's not you generally can't put all of your income into it just because of some of the limits. So it's just part of the solution. You
just got to keep finding those loopholes.
Yep, right. And the IRS keeps closing.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? All right. Well, Glenn, if guys want to get more information about what we've talked about here, or just maybe have some other tax questions, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, our phone number here at Heinold Vanward's, we're in East Peoria, Illinois, is 309 area code 694-4251. And then you can always look me up on Twitter at Glen Birnbaum. So.
Yeah. All right, Glenn. Well, till next week's tax move, have a great weekend, and go plant some soybeans here real quick with your dad.
All right. The corn's done. So
all
thanks.
Right. There you go. Take it easy, buddy. We'll see you.